joining me bright and early here on the banks of my local River Thames. It's a venue that I've caught a lot of big weights of bream from over the last few years, and we've come along today to show you exactly how to get the most from it and similar venues across the country. The fish tend to feed better in low light conditions, which is the reason why we're here at such a ridiculous hour. So let's not waste any time, get the gear out and get down on the bank. A lot of people ask me whether there's any need to pre-bait or whether it's something that I do myself. Simple answer is no, absolutely not. The main things you need to focus on if you want to catch a big weight of bream out of a river is to focus on the time of day that you're fishing and the condition of the river. If you've got a bit of flow, even if it is clear water, that's going to be a great time to fish in the summer. This river, a lot of the time, there's no flow at all. And that generally is the worst time to fish it. If it's a little bit of colour, even better. So no, there's absolutely no need to pre-bait, and I think that the time of the day that you fish will almost reveal hidden gems, if you like, because there's so many bream in these stretches. It's not just this stretch that I've fished many other ones as well, and they've all thrown up big weights of fish purely because you're fishing at the right time of day. Most of the year I'll be found sat next to a commercial fishery somewhere competing in matches, so for me to get away from that sort of thing and come out and have a little bit of fun definitely appeals to me. Although the time of day that you have to do it ain't so great, I've had some fantastic catches of fish over the years. On a few occasions I've had up to 100 bream here in a single night, or even 50 or 60 in an early morning session. It's definitely something a little bit different. It's taken a little while to get them going this morning, but feels like first half decent one of the day. So let's get this one in and hopefully we catch a few more. Right, there we go. There's the first one of the morning. It's been, it's just got light. We've had to wait a little while for our first fish this morning because just popped this one in the net. What we're having at the moment is we're having some very high tides at the moment, and the tidal stretch starts just down below where we're fishing. And basically they're so high that they're backing over the weir, so the river was actually going the wrong way this morning when we got here, and it was virtually over the bank. Now the river's dropped about 1.5 to 2 foot now, and we've started getting an odd bite now, so hopefully that's the first of many, and we'll get it back out there. So I've just had another decent fish, fairly typical of what you can expect to catch here on the Thames. I've had to make a few little changes. Obviously, like I said, when the tide was up this morning, we had a lot of flow, so I had to start with a 2-ounce feeder, so 60-gram feeder. And basically, as the tides run out, obviously we're sort of like 2 and a bit foot shallower now, something like that, so quite a dramatic change in the depth and obviously the flow once it's run out. So I've had to change down to a 45-gram feeder, and what's prompted me to do that is not only the reduction in the flow, but when I was on the heavier feeder I was getting a few smashed baits and I weren't seeing any bites. So as soon as I've changed the feeder, I've been rewarded with 2 or 3 decent bream straight away, and I'm seeing a lot more bites now. It's worth bearing in mind, just keeping an eye on the flow, whether the levels are changing all the time. On venues like this they do change, there's locks and things like that, so just keep an eye on it, and if you can balance it out perfectly, you'll definitely catch a lot more fish. When it comes to tackle for fishing on the river, I like to keep things really simple. Generally at home I like to keep a ready rod sleeve ready to go, so when the river's right I'm going fishing. The rod I like to choose for fishing on the river is a 12'9" dual distance feeder. This rod I find covers me for any scenario that the river's going to throw at me. Whether it's low, I can fit it with lighter tips. If it's flooded like it was this morning, then I'm able to fit it with a heavier tips to cast heavier feeders, and obviously the tip helps in heavier flows as well. The length of the rod's quite important as well. So 12'9" gives me a little bit more length to keep the line off the river. Obviously when you've got a lot of flow on the river, you get a lot of rubbish coming through and things like that. So any of that hits the line is going to drag the feeder out of position. When it comes to reels, I like to use bigger sizes of reels. So I've got a 5,500 size dual reel. The reel's loaded with 8 pound Optimum reel line. For its breaking strain, this line's extremely thin, which is quite an advantage really when you're fishing on the river, because it's going to cause less drag on the line, less debris is going to catch it when you've got quite a lot of flow on the river. To that I like to have a 12 pound shock leader. This covers me for a number of reasons, not only weed and snags and things like that, but also when we're talking about using one rod for one job, I want to use one reel as well. So whether I need to up my feeder weight or anything like that, I can do it all off the same reel, the same rod, everything. So just keeping things nice and simple has always been the best policy for me on the river. So rig wise on the river, I like to keep things really simple. For 90% of my fishing I use a standard running feeder rig, with the feeder just running up the line to a buffer bead. The hook length, messed around with lots of different lengths of hook lengths over the years. Despite chopping and changing, I always seem to come back to a 2-foot hook length here. The hook length itself is tied up on 016 or 018 power optics. I like to use a heavier line for my hook lengths than really you need for the size of the fish you're catching, mainly because of casting in and out a lot, and I find I get a lot less tangles. When it comes to hooks, size 14 or size 12 B560s cover me for all my fishing. I always find that a bigger hook always seems to enable me to hook a lot more of the bites that I get. Smaller hooks more likely to be spat out, so if the fish ain't tackle shy, then I'm not bothered about using a big hook at all. When I come and fish here, I'll have leftover bait from my matches. So I have a few dead maggots with me, a few live maggots for the hook, and generally that's all you need. Over the last few years there's been a few more small fish into this stretch of the river, so I've started bringing baits like corn and worms with me, which are just a little bit more durable and enable me to keep the rig in there a little bit longer and wait for those bigger fish. Right, well there we go. We're going to make that one the last one of the day. Sun's up now and the bites are definitely drying up. But it's been another great morning on the river. Caught plenty of fish, and fun's over now because I'm off to work.